Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here another year to talk with you guys about different cybersecurity topics. Today, we will talk about the indicators of compromise. We will define very quickly, and also we will compare with indicators of attacks. But most important, after that, we will see how these scenarios, how these situations are happening in the real life. I am very proud to have one of our customers that are using different tools, not only one single tool, it's different tools, and also understanding the type of notifications or alerts they are receiving in a day-to-day, managing a SOC, and what they are doing with that kind of information, how they are interpreting this information, and what kind of actions they are doing in a day-to-day. So our customer is coming from Tiglu, and they created a cybersecurity business unit. So Unai Uranga is the director of Tiglu Cybersecurity. They are providing managed services to different companies across the country. They are doing activities like intrusion testing and detection, even monitoring, also helping companies across the country to comply with different regulations that are required. So I will invite to the stage to Unai in order to follow a couple of slides that I will do later. But as I said before, initially we will do some definitions about indicators of compromise, that we know very well that these indicators are changing on the life. They have a life cycle, because initially we will discover, we will do obviously some research, we will identify some patterns, we will see how they are acting, and definitely they are changing, evaluating, and also probably sometimes it's not anymore an indicator. It's actually a new type of attack, a new vector of attack, and probably after that nobody's using anymore. That is probably a life cycle that we can see. Definitely, some of these, as I said before, we need to identify patterns, signals, how the attackers are trying to discover or trying to gain access to the different networks, or trying to escalate privilege, or trying to do some lateral movements. This type of activities is something we need to identify and also understand the context of each of these situations. It's not only the activity, we need to understand the context of the activity that are happening. And sometimes also we need to go more deeper and start to analyze some metadata that we can find. And as I said, we have the indicator of compromises that we can see definitely is more reactive activities that we are doing, knowing some patterns. But also on the other side, when we already have an attack, we will have different scenarios when we will see more strategies. And then we have the tactics, the technicals, and the procedures they are doing. And what is this about that? It's about the Mitre attack framework that we will try to identify some of these scenarios. So that is why when an attacker is already applying all of these tactics, procedure, and technicals, they definitely will enter to one organization. And we will see two different types of situations. The first one is rapid attacks. It's something that already entered to the network and will try to do something, probably copy some files and have some data leak of the files, and probably they will spend less than 1 week in the network of the company or your organization. That is a rapid attacks, but if you see the percentage is less than 40%. There are scenarios like that, but the majority of the scenarios are happening in a slow attacks. Because as soon an attacker is inside of the network, regularly they do more silent activities, and they are trying to do lateral movements, as I said before, and also escalating privilege. And that is the most important thing we need to start to watch out. That is why it's necessary to have tools. The tools will only help you with the 50% of the activities. I only say that we have the products and also the vendors that will cover one part of the process. But the other part is about the people that are watching the alerts, that are watching the type of activities, understanding the context. And that is a very important task that any tool, any software will help you. You need to analyze what you are receiving and how you need to proceed. That is what I will put some scenarios, linking all of these scenarios to specific activities. As I said, we have the Mitre attack, and we have 14 different tactics. We will reference to 6 of them. The first one is like initial access. It's one of the tactics that you can see when you are doing the threat hunting. What is the threat hunting? It's like you go and you start to do some hunting. You are searching something that is unusual inside of your organization. And here we have one of the examples, and if you see, there is an alert that says there is a login outside of the country that is trying to do some activity. On this scenario, if you are a SOC operator or SOC administrator or cybersecurity official or any type of job title you have in your organization and you receive this one, what you will do? That is something Unai will explain you very quickly. What you will do in this scenario.
All right. Thank you, Andrés. Thank you. Yeah, what we do in our SOC team, we use the ManageEngine tools, and with our SOC team, we receive the alert. Our SOC is in the northern part of Spain, and we have clients all around Spain and in different countries. Okay, so if we receive an alert for a foreign country, we just check with the IT department if this access is valid or not. The user, like in this case, it's a Spanish user, and the access is from Croatia. So what we can see here is that that is not a valid access, so we just check and block the user in this time.
That is one type of situation that could happen. He mentioned it. Could be a valid or could be an invalid login. We need to understand the context, if really that user is probably travel or is accessing from another place. But one single event probably is not enough. After that, we will see that other type of events start to happening. And then we have another type of situation, is another tactic that we can see, that is someone is trying to access to some credentials. And there are different tactics, different techniques that they can use. One of them is some long-time used brute force attack, that we can use some dictionary, we can start to do something to try to access. And then you receive a notification like this one. On that scenario, what kind of situation you can do as soon as you receive this type of alert?
Yeah, with the event log analyzer, we see that if in a short period of time we received many invalid accesses, we just get the alert, and we see that the attacks are just continuous, and so we just block also the user in that activity. Mm-hmm.
Okay, regularly we have some, I would say like a by default conditions or measures. For example, 3 times that you intend to access with a wrong credential or wrong password, probably your account will be blocked, right? That is how we can protect like a logins in Active Directory. But we have other type of attacks also, like a spray passwords. That's meaning we are using one single password and we are spraying for different users the same passwords. That is also a type of situation that we need to try to identify. That is another type of technique or tactic that we can see on these scenarios. But after that, Hassan, I would say an attacker, already discovered the environment, already tried to access for another country, and they were trying to do some brute force attack, for example. And what will happen? Probably he already gained the access. He already have one username and one password, and is inside of the network. And in that scenario, you will receive another type of notifications. In this scenario, you will see that he's trying to escalate privileges, because what the attacker will do is, okay, now I have a domain user basic. Now I want to be domain admin, or I want to be database admin, or I want to be local admin. And that is what you see, these kind of things. But most important is how we can validate that the escalation or the creation of a new username or something will be a valid situation or no. Okay. How you can identify this type of activities?
Okay, with the AD audit, we have all the users in the network, and if a new user is created and the escalation of privileges, we just receive the alert. So we have the list of all the users in the company, and if we see that it's another user, we just block or talk to the IT department also to alert them what's happening.
Okay, perfect. Till now, we have like some scenarios that are happening. That what we will continue doing, because they already have access to the network, they already tried to gain the privilege escalation. Now we have other type of activities that needs to be sometimes like in a silent mode, that they are starting to researching, they are start to finding if there is a database, or there is a files, or there is a folder that is shared with confidential information, with access. But here we have another type of a scenario. It's like they are creating other additional accounts to don't use one single account to perpetrate the complete scenario. And that user that already have some privilege, now I can create new accounts, probably with lower privilege or with the same privilege. And then we have a new user was created, but probably not with the name admin, not with the name super admin or SA for the database or other thing. It's using like a username that said M Santos. But how you can validate that M Santos is a real user or not? What kind of activities you can do in this scenario?
Any new users, we received alerts. So if any new user is created, we just check if it's in the AD director, and we just try to check also with the IT department each time. So we receive the alert, and the SOC team analyzes with a forensic analysis if that user is illegal or not. Mm-hmm.
That is also a very important point, that it's not only the technical department or cybersecurity department that needs to take decisions. We need to also involve other departments. If we don't have a notification from HR that a new employee is onboarding in the company, we already know that no one is entering to the company. Why we have events that a new user was created? That is also like understanding the context and understanding the situation that is happening around the organization. And then we have another type of notifications. We can see like a network devices configuration was changed. Now it's not anymore about the users, the accesses, login successful or logger failed. Now we see another type of notifications in other area, networking area. And we need to also identify what is happening. In this scenario, what kind of information you can identify with this alert?
Yeah, normally, these kind of attacks, they invalidate the user and the password, and they try to get access from the firewall, from outside. So that's why we have all the mechanisms in our SOC to receive these kind of alerts and act in order to stop the attackers to enter our company and get the IT administration.
So that is something regularly we identify as like the user that already gained more privilege inside of the organization, they will go and open more doors. That is simple like that, because probably the security team, the networking team, already defined some policies, some rules. This is allowed to enter, or this is not allowed to exit. That is the rules how are working in the firewalls. But this scenario that's already escalated the privilege, they are going directly to the firewall, and they are creating new rules, or they are removing existing rules. That is also a very important situation. And now we are moving for something that regularly the tools are named entities. So we have one of the features that every tool should have, that the name is User and Entity Behavior Analytics. That is the type of analysis we do by the users that we saw in the 3 previous examples in the notifications, but also the entities. And what is an entity? An entity could be a server, could be a database, could be a network device, switch, router, firewall. Those devices also have notifications, and we need to look at all of these notifications. And then we have the impact, another tactic, because everything already happened. The user was already gained privilege. He created another users to try to be like, or to try to access to other devices, or going to the network, or going to the database, or going to the servers. What's happening almost at the end of the process is like you are seeing that someone is trying to delete some files. Could be a copy of the file, could be a remove of the file, could be delete of the folder, delete of the files. If you receive this kind of notifications, what you should do?
Well, this is the last part of the Mitre attack. So when we receive this kind of alert, we know that they're inside. The attackers have the administration passwords, and they inside. With the ManageEngine AD audit, we monitorize all the activities of the users. Which files they access, which files they delete, which files they copy and paste, which files they print screen. So everything is controlled. And if we see a massive deletion, we just get the alert and block everything. So they inside, so we have to change passwords and take measurements as soon as possible, because this is the last part. We lost control.
Yeah. That is something very important when we are talking about auditing processes, and there is something named the 4 WBs. That is like a who, what, where, and when. If me as a person in charge of cybersecurity, official or security, or an operator in a SOC, I am not able to answer what happened, when, where, and who was the person that did the action, definitely I don't have auditing process. I don't have visibility what is happening on my organization. Because on this scenario, you can see that you know what is happening, and you know the timing, and you know also the user, and you know also from which IP address, and you know the action. That is the proper type of notification you receive it. But as I said in the initial slides, it's not only about what a tool can help you. Also, it is like a part of understanding what kind of activities you need to do after that. That is why we can start to mention some of the basic activities you should do. Some of them you can cover with some tools. Others needs to have your people prepare it, your people train it in order to identify these kind of activities. So we know that we have a CM solution that is like at the base of this correlation of the activities. We are collecting logs from different sources. Here in this scenario, in these 6 examples, we see like activities from the end users, activities for the Active Directory, activities from the network devices, activities from the file servers, or activities from the storage servers where we have the critical information, the critical data. So initially, we need to collect all of them and then start to parsing. But the parsing is not enough, because we know CM is the basic thing, and then we need to start to do some SOAR. We need to start to do some actions. We need to start to do some orchestration. That is why we need to identify these kind of incidents. We can define some rules. We can define some time of remediation. Like if you receive this time of alert at this moment with this pattern on these conditions, you can start to execute in this type of remediation in order to mitigate or in order to reduce the risk. But other examples has the previous 6 scenarios. You need to do manual intervention in order to understand what is happening and understand the context. And that is what I said. Also, we need to include the other components that are inside of your organization. If you have an hybrid environment, not only the Active Directory, you have Entra ID, or you have virtual machines, or you have infrastructure has a service, code has a service, or you have containers. All of this also needs to be part of your tool that are correlating all of these activities in order to understand what is happening. I already mentioned it about the user and entity behavior analytics. That is how the machine learning and artificial intelligence is helping us to detect what kind of behavior the users are having. So we will understand for a couple of weeks or months what the user have like a baseline, like a pattern. This user is coming to the office all the days at 9 a.m. in the morning, is logging in this workstation with this IP address. After that, because it's a database administrator, he's logging to 3-4 servers, and after that, he is accessing to these databases. And normally, he is executing, 20 queries, for example. That is the pattern. That is a normal user that is kind of activities doing in a daily basis. But if tomorrow that user is not logging anymore at 9 a.m., he's logging at 3 a.m., and the login is from another country, not from Spain when he is living, and he's not logging to 3 servers or 4 servers, he's logging to 20 servers, and he's deleting all the databases. All the activities changing completely. And that kind of notifications, you will not receive like it's a login failure, no, because it's valid account, it's logging correctly to the servers, it's logging correctly to the database, but the pattern changed. And that kind of notifications, an administrator, an operator in a SOC needs to see this kind of deviations. That is where the artificial intelligence is helping in the cybersecurity area. And also, before you start to receiving this type of activities, unusual attacks, or someone that is doing something wrong, you need to also start to having a risk score. So based on these activities, you will start to see the risk. This user is potentially dangerous inside of my organization. Based on what? Based on the activities he is doing. Or also, this database is potentially risky because other users that regularly are not logging to this device, they are having access. They are having activities, or they are having events in a time that is not normal. That is what the risk scoring is helping me in order to have all of this data, all of these insights. And after that, I need to start to take some analysis. One of these things, for example, is the threat intelligence that is helping me to understand if this attack or this activity or this type of situation that I am seeing is also happening in another environment, in another tool, in another country, in another company. So that's meaning this information needs to be shared with different other entities. We have open platforms to share indicators from one company or from one tool to other tool. That kind of capabilities your tool should have to be integrated with the rest of the information, with all of these feeds or data sources that are helping me. This is a 0 day. This is a possible thing that are happening in another organization, and I will import all of these situations, and I will see if the same is happening on my organization to be protected. And obviously, we have like a threat investigation when definitely we need to have more manual process in order to do these things. So what do you think that could be your message to all these people that probably they are handling operations locally, or they are working in a SOC providing services for the internal company or for other companies? Has your scenario, for example, that you are doing services for other companies? What could be your message to the attendees today?
Okay, one important thing is the tool, okay, as we said, but it's very important as well to have trained people, to have knowledge inside, and also to have a 24/7 service in order to react when we have any incident, in a security incident. So it's very important to train people and to be ready for attackers, because it's a question of time.
Perfect. This is what we want to share today. This is just an example that the situations that all the companies are facing in the day today. I know that we have almost 5 minutes if someone has a question, and we can answer from I would say vendor's perspective, or also for the customer's perspective. Somebody have any question?
If anybody has a question, please just raise your hand. I'll get you the microphone so everybody in the room can hear it. So I'll give you the first question, I guess. Really interesting talk. Thank you so much. How customizable is it? One of the things I was thinking about is I may have a user that I know has permissions to do certain things because maybe they're in a very technical responsibility. Is there a way to customize to say, okay, that guy is okay to do these certain things, and so that it won't get alerted? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. That is something that is very important. If the tool you selected is not customizable for your organization, definitely you will have a problem, because not all the companies are having the same core of business, the same type of users, the same type of activities, or even the same technology. If I have some reports that by default they are watching on Microsoft SQL has a database, and I am not using SQL, I'm using Oracle, I'm using Sybase, I'm using DB2, for example, or different other things, that definitely will not help me. The reports by default, they will not help me. You need to customize your tool based on your core of your organization, the type of the users, even this risk scored will be customizable, because sometimes we know that we have some type of situations that we need to raise the score. I said, okay, 50% of the score is risky for other company, but for me it's something that I already accepted. That score, I know that we need to accept, and we will raise to 60. If I cross it 60%, that is a scenario I need to watch out. I need to configure. I need to adapt. That is a very important, and that is what I said. 50% of the activities is only the tool. The other 50% is how you configure the tool in order to help you to detect this kind of activities, this kind of situations in a daily basis. So that is mandatory, and any vendor should offer this type of configuration to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions at all? Oh, yeah, here.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is for small and medium enterprise. What's your opinion? Shall SOC team for medium and small enterprise work 20 hours per day, or it's just for working hours will be enough? What's your opinion?
That is a very important question, and that is why we invited one customers, because we have several scenarios when probably a small and medium company, they don't have the people, they don't have a 24 hours operation, and probably today I can invest into hire people or technology or to buy a software. And that is why we have this type of trending, I will say, that is outsourcing the service. And companies like Tiglu, for example, they are helping the companies to do these kind of activities. Obviously, they have the resources, they have the tool, they have the knowledge, and they can provide a 24-hour service, because that is a very important. If your operation is running on that type of activities, if your operation is having sensitive information, yeah, if you have the resources, if you have the money to invest or the project or something, yes, you need to have 24-hour monitoring, because doesn't matter you are operating in one single country. The attackers are always on. The attackers are always active. And the attackers are not only from your country. They are coming from different other countries. And you need to watch out very quickly and detect that activities 24 hours. So answer straightforward, yes, you need to watch at 24 hours. But if you don't have the resources, companies like Tiglu or other type of companies, MSP, that is Managed Service Provider, will help you to provide this kind of services.
Answering your question, when we started with ManageEngine in the beginning, when we had the SOC, we didn't have 24/7, and we externalized after 10 p.m. We externalized to a company all the important alerts. We configure the most important alerts, and we externalize that service. Right now, we have the resources and we have the people, so we give a 24/7 service. But it's important to know your clients, what their needs, and to build a SOC specifically for them in the beginning. But you can have some type of clients in the beginning and then keep growing. So I mean, this tool gives you the opportunity to do that.
Okay, I will invite you to everyone here if you want to understand more a little bit what we can do in ManageEngine and how we can collaborate with different scenarios, with managed service provider, with customers that want to have the proper SOC inside, or start to watching what kind of activities we need to analyze, monitor, and supervise, and automate and remediate in a day-to-day. I invite you to visit our booth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.